Before I let you go, I briefly wanted to talk about one thing. This is a small thing. One of your super chats said about how come there are no leaks on Winds of Winter? Which, yeah, come to think of it, leaks happen all the time for television shows,
Mm.
movies. As someone who's a big fan of the One Piece manga, we have like a bunch of leaks with One Piece manga. In fact, in the news recently, a couple of guys were arrested because they like kept leaking the One Piece manga before every chapter was released. So
Oh.
yeah, but books for the most part, like you never hear that Stephen King's stuff got leaked ahead of release. You never hear like, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
hmm,
I think it has to do with, so when we talk about like in economics, there's something where they talk about like the cartel, and like when there's a cartel or an oligopoly, meaning like an oligopoly is just when many people participate in a monopoly. That's all it is. They call it an oligopoly. So you can control prices or whatever. So when you have a cartel or an oligopoly, the thing is that the more people that are part of it, there's a greater incentive to like break it, and so the more people involved, the sooner it falls apart. And that goes for most things. It goes for like keeping secrets too, right? The more people that are part of your like circle that know a secret, the more likely that secret's going to be leaked. There's so much incentive to be the person that's like, I've leaked it, and what are they getting out of like keeping it, right? So, um, so when it comes to like movies, all right, there's hundreds of people that are involved in movies, in the creation of a movie, sometimes
hmm,
thousands,
yeah.
So, you've got all, so it's so easy to just have one person like, leak a plot or leak a script or take snapshots on their phone. That's so easy. Um, even when it's something you're talking about like manga, well, you know, sometimes there's an inker, but there's usually a writer. Sometimes there's a color person that comes in. Sometimes there's someone that does lines, and there's somebody who does shading. I know that a lot of manga is like all like without color, but like sometimes they add color to stuff, but nonetheless, there's like, you've got, sometimes like some people plan panels, and some people do story, and some people, there's a producer sometimes. Like I'm not saying there's a lot of people involved in the production of a comic, but it's certainly not one, and it's certainly not two.
Right.
It's often like a dozen, sometimes 20. And so, but when you're talking about a book, it's just George and his publisher. That's two people, and then maybe he's got a British publisher. So that's three, and it's in none of those people's economic best interest to leak anything. So the question is like, who would leak it? There's no one else to leak it.
I would assume his
You know,
assistants like have a hand in helping him with like characters and stuff, or so on and so
no, I
forth.
don't think so. I don't,
Listening to you tell me like about like the inner workings of how you guys do the fanfic and all the editors and stuff,
mm-hmm.
like if one of like if there was a leak that happened with your story, like there's like six other people that would know, so it's one of these fucking guys because
Right.
they're all in on like what's happening, or it's me because you always tell me every now
Right.
and
That's
then
the
what's
other thing
going
about
on.
like leaking a secret is the more people that know, then the harder it is to pin down who did it.
Mm-hmm.
If like only a couple people know something, then obviously it's the other person that leaked it. So, but no, his helpers, and George R. R. Martin, has an estate, and he has a lot of things to keep going. There's somebody to take care of his house. There's somebody to take care of his horses. Um, there's obviously maids, and he has workers. He has assistants who follow him around and like
His
deal with his
minions.
calendar and his minions, and deal with different things. Like make sure that there's a chair that provides proper back support for him at
Mm.
events. Like all these things are like worked out, and the minions help, but
By the
I
way,
don't think
just so the
they're.
audience knows, George refers to his as minions. That's why I said
Yeah, yeah,
minions.
yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah. And you know,
I'm not gonna lie.
and
If I was one of those people, I'd take a peek. I'm like, what's going on with Littlefinger? What's going on there? I'd take
well,
a peek.
sure, but like, you know, do they really have access? You don't know. Like his writing room might be his man cave that they don't get to go in.
Hmm.
You know, and why risk your job? Like they may be very interested, but also like, no, not going to do that. Um, so, I mean, you know, I mean, I met some of his minions years ago. I mean, he may have different minions now. I don't know.
Hmm.
They were very nice. They were very sharp. They were very like on top of things.
You didn't tell me this. You met. Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he travels places with them, so he usually has you know one or two assistants with him at any time, and like I say, they have to be on top of everything because like they need to, like he has George has serious back problems, so they need to make sure that there is like a proper chair for him to sit in that like doesn't give him back problems, you know, and they have to like make sure that you know like that the you know like they tell him like I was just observing them like they tell him like who in the room is important and who he needs to talk to and what he needs to do and like where he needs to go next. Like they were kind of like he was going table to table and they were kind of like keeping track of the time and being like, oh George, it's probably good that we move on to the next table. They were really like doing event planning and organizing the whole thing. They were very good. They were very good.
Oh, that's.
But yeah. But yeah, so but the thing is, yeah, are they going to risk their job for what? You know,
I know.
sneak into his
Preston,
office to
I just
do
want to
something
know,
like,
man. I just want to know. I want to know. I want to know where it goes. I don't want this asshole. I don't want this because didn't he say that he would like have it all destroyed if something happened to him?
I don't know. I mean, who knows what he makes a lot of dark jokes, so it's hard to say. George is really, really because he edits himself. He edits all the wild cards and has been for years and edits other stuff. He he's a really good editor. When he writes, it's near perfect to begin with. So he has one editor. Publisher, yeah, he's got some publishers and stuff, but you know, that stuff is passed to those people, but I don't think it's an army and I don't think any of the people have the financial interest in like leaking anything. So I don't think the minions would have access. The editors and publishers certainly don't have any economic interest in leaking anything. There's not that many of them. I mean, the publishers and stuff that deal with them, you're talking like, you know, at most half a dozen people that he's talking about. He's getting, you know, I'm talking about American publishers, British publishers. So there's not too many opportunities to actually leak something. So thus it's we won't see anything. Plus, there actually has to be something to leak. So